Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of South Asian Success. I love obviously talking to people, building, especially things focused around culture and community. But I especially love talking to authors, being an author myself. So I had the pleasure of meeting our next guest at an event where we all actually got to speak about our work and creative elements as women. It was a really wonderful Women's Day event held here in Chicago. And I got to meet you, Julie, and I'm so grateful for that moment and that opportunity. So welcome, welcome. How are you doing
Thank
today?
you. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Parul. I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy our paths crossed at the Women's Day event because everything you do is amazing. So thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. And likewise to you. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of starting in my creative journey. I've probably been creative in the background, right? But I feel like I'm starting with my putting it out there. And I'm so inspired when I meet people like you that have been doing it for a while, that have had those moments. And you're going to talk us through kind of what were those aha moments for you that made you go and pursue your passions. And so that's kind of what we're all about here at South Asian Success and hopefully inspiring somebody along the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to start with you. Let everyone know about your journey and, let's hear about the books and everything. Just tell us a little bit about Julie in a nutshell.
Sure. Okay. So my name's Julie. I'm a mom. I have two daughters. I live in Chicago. I'm married to my husband, Samir. It'll be 16 years, 15 years this September. It's all running together at this point. That's okay. That's what marriage is about. My background is in finance, so I had a successful finance career for like 20 plus years of my life. I'm totally dating myself, but that's okay. And Samir and we got married. I was 36 and he was 39. So, I mean, however you want to see that, maybe later as far as at least the South Asian culture is concerned. But, neither one of us wanted to settle, and it's such a big step. So we wanted to do it when the time was right, and that's where we were at. So during that time, the next step was I think we both always wanted children. It was just never something we really stressed about or thought that it wouldn't happen. Like, I know those thoughts never crossed my mind. Like, my sister has three children, never had problems. Like, we're like, it's all good. You just don't realize, as you get older and things start changing, that time is limited. Right. So 36, I get married. I'm still working. I was at a top firm in the city at that point. And, about a year in, we start trying to have a baby. I'm like 37 at this point and I'm not getting pregnant. Right. So it was a tough time. Went to the fertility doctor, talked to a bunch of people, collected all the resources I could. Cause then I was like, is this a thing? Like, really? So that led me to really reevaluating things and kind of where I was in life. Right now, I'm married. I'm trying to have children. I'm at the doctor's office every other day, drawing blood and doing all these tests, hearing about words in the fertility ward that we had never even heard of. We're like, what's happening? My husband was kind of like, okay, maybe take some stress off. And the whole time, I'm a writer, I think, by nature, like innately, I enjoy it. So during this process, I'm journaling. I have my diary going just for my release, right? For a sense of calm for myself, not even understanding at that point really where is this leading. So as I'm journaling, I think Samir could tell my husband could tell I was like really getting stressed. So he's kind of like, let's remove some stress. I walked away from my financial career because we're like, okay, if we want to start a family, time is against us, right? Like as the years go on, I'm just getting older and we don't want to miss kind of that window. And he was kind of like, we don't even have to have kids. We can just travel the world, right? And I was like, no, like I'm going to be a mother. Like that was it. I had tunnel vision and that's all I wanted at that point. So quit. It was a blessing. Sienna was born, a few months later. And I thought, okay, like with my diary, I'm going to write like a blog post and try to help the next woman, right? Like I know I was all over Google looking for anything and everything to kind of help me move forward, like give me answers. Like, what does this word mean? What is low AMH? Like, what are we talking about here? Right. So I continued to look for things, couldn't find anything. Being South Asian, well, could find literature, but not enough. Let me just put it that way. Being South
Yeah.
Asian was even more scarce. Like, nobody talked about it, right? Nobody, like, no one. I didn't feel comfortable, telling my in laws, like, as a person who struggles getting pregnant, you feel like something's wrong with you, right? You take that very personal. It's a tough place to be. It's isolating, it's depressing, you question everything. So I just felt like, you know what? I'm going to start just putting my information out there just so the next person doesn't feel alone, right? If I can help just one person feel a little less lonely in this journey or offer a hand or even a conversation, my work is complete here. And then since I had already quit and Sienna was born, I had time on my hands. So I felt like, let me just write a book. I'll just write a book, like I'll put the blog post, but let's just take it a step further. That's kind of how my first book, What Will Be, came about, my memoir. So that made me an author. I had started a fashion boutique while I was off work at that point as well. So it kind of made me I became a boutique owner, so I was doing all these things. Because I'd stepped away from my corporate career. I'm a new mom, and I guess I'm that person who likes to stay busy. I enjoy giving back. I love helping people. I will talk to someone who needs help all day if they need it, right? So writing that book was really gratifying for me. I felt like I was giving back. I had a lot of people reach out after it was published, asking for help, advice, telling me thank you, and it meant the world. So, that's kind of the nutshell here. Sienna will be 12 this October. So the book's been out for, let's say, I got it out when she was like 5, so about, I don't know, 7 years. It's my third baby. And then recently, I was able to write a children's book with my daughters because ever since Sienna was understood that mama was an author, she always asked me, like at 5, 6 years old, Mommy, can I write? And I was like, of course, babe, you can do whatever you want in this world. My mother used to tell me that, and it meant
But
the world. Right. And I told her to start jotting things down. We started like that. And then we were always kind of looking for a story. And then one day she came home with one, and our book, A Dear Friend, was born. I'll just hold it up. So that's my latest project. This just came out this month. So it's super exciting.
yay. Well, as a mom of a
Yes.
kid writer, I'm especially proud of that. I'm proud of your
Yes.
work too. And I
Thank
really
you.
want to dig in. I mean, first of all, like the reason I started this podcast is I've just been meeting so many creative people, and many of us weren't creative to begin with. Like we were always creative maybe inside, but we didn't get that chance. You had a traditional finance career. We were all in these like high pressure career situations, right? And we don't really talk about how that stress and how that kind of work life can impact a fertility journey or a woman's health journey in general, right? We don't hear about that. Nobody
Sure.
really talks about that. But I remember like years ago hearing from a friend who was like saying she was so stressed and, that was probably also impacting her fertility. You mentioned you obviously you struggled with learning about infertility, finding resources, and also probably talking about it, right? It wasn't what people
Yeah.
talk about in our families. So
Yeah.
what was it like to take the journals and put them out there in the world? I'm curious, like, what
For
was the
sure.
reception? Did it open up eyes in the family? Did it open up conversation?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, we never talked about this. Like, I mentioned earlier that you start feeling like something's wrong with you, right? Like, I didn't feel comfortable telling certain people in my family because I didn't want them to think of me differently or look down upon me. And it's really a sad place to be because in reality, there are billions of people all over the world who suffer from this. People have miscarriages all the time. Like, I suffered through a
Yeah.
miscarriage. It was super lonely. And I remember even my own mother, who we're very close at the time, she didn't believe it. And I was so confused by her reaction because I'm like, no, like the baby doesn't have a heartbeat. She's like, I've never heard of such a thing. That doesn't happen. No, it
Oh.
does happen. Right. So this is kind of how we were raised. We didn't discuss these things. And my mom actually had miscarriages. She had my sister and I, who's older, healthy pregnancies, thankfully, but she did suffer miscarriages in between us. So hearing that from someone who had already been there, like, have you shoved it under the rug this much as a South Asian woman because you've been trained and conditioned not to talk about these things because you're ashamed? That is so sad, right? So putting my journaling out there, putting the blog posts, I mean, and we're talking, this was, I started writing about 14 years ago, like writing things down as I was trying to get pregnant, it was not discussed. Once my friends started hearing about it, our inner circle saw us breaking apart literally because it affects finances, the marriage, the way you look at life, the way you move daily, like, being at restaurants or going out or doing things. You're not there anymore because I'm at the fertility doctor getting an IUI done in the morning. Like that's not happening. So and I was very much like telling people because I refused to stand behind a curtain or push it under the rug because it was one of the most important, devastating things that was going on in our lives. Once we did start discussing it, I had like 4 people around me who I never would have guessed their kids were way older, like 14, 15 at the time, who had went through the same thing. I'm like, wow, like you are our family. How do we not know this about you? And it was really great to see people being able to open up and sharing. It's not something to be ashamed of. There's nothing wrong with you. Open the door. Let's talk about it so we can help each other, one, get through this and maybe help thy neighbor get to where they want to go. Right. So, yeah, I think in our generation, it was very widely accepted and people were receptive to it. But as far as, my parents or that generation or things like that, I think they were confused. Like, why do you need the world to know? Like, why are you
Yeah,
talking
why do
about
you
this?
wanna talk
Like,
about this? Gosh. So my
yeah,
sister
like,
similar
why
she
are
didn't
you,
write my sister
yeah,
wrote an
like,
article on IVF, her IVF journey, and I remember everyone was like, "Why do you wanna share this?" You know? And it's
yes,
like,
yes.
we've grown up with this, like, suppress, or, like, denial, 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 right? But I'm so glad that you broke through that, right? And because I think the message is so important, and I will say, like, as a older so I also was married at 35. As someone who tried to get pregnant older, also went through fertility clinics and things. Even just being pregnant, there's no one you can talk to. It's 3 months of I can't tell anyone anything. So you don't know what's happening. Having books was like I devoured and I consumed. So I think it's
Yeah,
like amazing that you put this out there in the times when maybe people feel very alone, right? And they
yeah.
need a resource. So that is so
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah. 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 No, it was very important for me. And honestly, like it was only to help the next person. Like I did, what do you mean? Why do I talk about this? Because it's a big deal and it's about my life and it's important to talk about things. Like I want to get the book translated into Hindi or, and send it all over
Well,
India because it's so important, right? Like women should have the forum, should have the voice and know it's okay, so it
absolutely.
was
I
what
mean,
it
that's
was,
so
Hopefully they're all over it at this point, but who knows? But it's okay. We
I
move forward.
I think you're educating others, but you're also in a way educating the past generations, right?
Yeah.
This work that you're doing, although it might feel uncomfortable, it's going to help parents, grandparents, people that are going to struggle with this messaging understand it too. So it's like, pass this book on to your family members, not just like, you know, for those that might want to read it, it's not just for you as an individual to read. Okay, let's talk. I want to talk about this authorship journey. So we're going to stay in the books for a minute, and then we're going to jump to the other business ideas and things that you've worked on. So let's talk about. So your daughters are now authors, which
Yes.
I'm very proud of a son who's an author, and I've seen the power of the creativity of children. Tell us about the
Yeah.
journey. Like I know you mentioned
Yeah.
Santa wanted to write a book.
Yeah.
Tell us like how
Yeah.
did this
Yeah.
happen? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super exciting time for them. I'm really happy that, the book came out when it did. We also had some personal stuff going on, at home. So, and the book came out right after that. And I think the timing just couldn't be more perfect because it's almost like we needed this. I'll think of the book as a rainbow, at the end of this journey because yeah, Sienna for the longest time had said, "Can I write? Can I write? Can I write?" And I always said, "Of course." We just couldn't find that perfect story. She had journals and journals of things written. And, we just couldn't find that book. We wanted a message to get out to the public as the child or the parent reading to the child or whatever it looked like to have something solid they could kind of fall back on or lean into, right? There was this one day that I think Sienna was about 8 years old. This is when Messenger Kids was really big for them. She says it's not in anymore, mom, but cool. Okay. But that it was. She had come home
Yeah.
from school, right? And I've always led a very like open door policy. Like I always wanted my kids, and we always try to tell Sienna, like, if there's something going on, come talk to us, right? Like It might feel scary, but you're not going to be in trouble as long as we know the truth and we can help you. Like, don't feel like you can't tell us because it'll just get worse for you. Like, let us do what we can to help you. As I'm sure many of us parents do talk to their children about this. But she had come home, she's on Messenger Kids, and she was talking to a close friend, actually, one of her close friends from school. Young, they're 8 years old. It's like young. And I could tell the conversation felt different this time. And they always talked and things, but I'm like, I was trying to keep a far enough distance where she didn't feel like I was invading her privacy. But, once my mama ear caught onto the tone and kind of the friction in the air, I was like, I couldn't stop listening. I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Right. And basically, it was just the other friend on the other line going on and on and on about their day and how she didn't like when Sienna did this or Sienna did that. And maybe she doesn't want to play with her anymore. She doesn't want to do this. It was kind of brutal, but, of course, I'm the mom and I'm going to feel like every little thing's brutal for my daughter. And Sienna was very quiet. And I think innately that's kind of her personality. Like Kaya's different, but at that point, that's who Sienna was. And to each their own, right? Hats off to the girl who's still her friend for going on and on about her feelings. And then we have Sienna who's just kind of taking it all in, taking it all. I really just don't think she even know what to do with that information because it was the first time, right? Like she's
Yeah,
going through
processing,
like, yeah,
right,
like
yeah.
how do I respond? I get it, like things happen and this was her first experience with this. So got through dinner. I still didn't want to cry, all that. And then at night when we were doing our bedtime stories, Kaya was 3. We have this favorite book. It's called Dear Girl. We always read it. So I started with that, knowing this is in the back of my mind. I need to talk to Sienna about it, but how? Without her thinking I'm listening. I definitely don't want her to think I'm listening. Otherwise, she'll never talk in front of me again, right? They're young enough where you still want to monitor it all.
Mhm.
So we're reading the book, and it's a really cute story about Dear Girl. You can basically do anything you set your mind to. So it's a beautiful, lovely story. I know they have Dear Boy as well. So then as soon as we were done, I was like, so we should talk like, if you guys had a friend, this is how I started, like, and if you wanted to tell them something through the day, like, what would you say? So I pull out my phone, I'm in my notes, I'm like writing, like you could say, dear friend, I, love you. Right. And Kai's like, yeah, I love you, dear friend. I want to hug you, so I'm writing down everything. Right. So I'm taking all their thoughts and just jotting them. And that's kind of how the Dear Girl book works as well. So it was they could tune in because they just saw it, like we have it at home, basically. So, and no thought was too small. Every emotion, every feeling they had, anything they wanted to tell their friend at that moment mattered. Like I didn't say, no, let's not say this. I said, perfect, perfect, perfect. We had a list of things, Sparrow. It was beautiful, right? And then from like through the middle, I go to like, and you could see Sienna kind of opening up, kind of not. And then by like the 15th one, she's like, yeah, and then maybe, like if they don't want to share, I'm like, perfect. Like, what would you say? I'm like, this is good, mom. I'm telling myself pat on the back, so I can see her opening up. And
Yeah,
that was the point. And I want to know what happened at school.
yeah,
So, then we just went into, sometimes friends are not going to get along and it's okay. Sometimes people will change and that's okay. So it just went on. Sometimes a friend will want to play with somebody else and you know what? That's okay. And if they're still going to be in your life and meant to be with you, you'll find your way back to each other and that's okay. Life's full of changes, ups and downs. You always want to wish people well. You always want to stay kind. You do your best. So that's kind of how Dear Friend was born. Super simple, but I just felt like I could see Sienna really opening up and it mattered so much to me. And I'm like, you know what? Communication is huge, right? Bottling things up is never a good idea. Starting them young and knowing that, things happen. I was never taught this stuff. Let me just say, my parents did not sit
yeah.
down and talk to me about my dear friend ever. I mean, there were life lessons I learned along the way. And sometimes they were a rude awakening, and I just think like, having a positive lens to look at situations in life and the changes is huge. And starting at a young age is so important. I mean, as I'm talking, I just feel like, it's like the Gen X and the millennial generation, we're breaking generational trauma, right? Like me writing about my infertility journey, my memoir, it's raw, it's emotional, it's real shit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's real. Sorry. And then, talking to the girls about conflict at this age and how life is going to throw curveballs and things are going to go up and down. Like we never talked about this stuff, right? Like we had trauma at home, but people handle it by yelling or saying, no, you have to be done this way. No, be a doctor, be a pharmacist, be a lawyer. That's it. No, that's not it. Right. Like, so as we're talking, I'm starting to understand really what's happening here, which I'm happy about. I'm happy the girls and I'm sure your boys and all of us raising children right now. I hope the world, 10 years, 15 years from now, and then forevermore will look very different in their homes than it did for us growing up.
I love that you said that because I actually literally was saying the same thing to another podcast I did. And I was saying, like, by doing the work of writing down our modern history, right? We're hopefully breaking the cycles. Or we're just, for me, like, I write about holidays, Diwali, and things like that. And it's like, I'm
Yes, I
also
love it.
trying
I
to like
love it, Arlo.
share forward something that is modern and our take on it. Like, how do we do it today? Because you know what? And I said this like, so I wrote this poetry collection. I said, what if these books became obsolete later? What if those books became history because
Yeah,
the world is so forward thinking and things are so great? Like, that would be the dream, right? If
that
you
would
can
be
create
the
a world
truth.
where your girls don't think twice to talk about their fertility journey and have resources and
Absolutely.
have friends, right?
Yeah.
Like even whatever may come that they have space. So like I love that. That's
Yes.
such an
Yes.
important piece of this. And representation. You also made the cover look like the girls. I love that. I also include my boys are my characters, but like, what about seeing a South Asian character was important here?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. So that's another little special twist we added to the book. So my illustrator, we had sent them a picture of Kaya and Sienna, and he blended it together, and then Saya was born. So we call her Saya.
I
And
love
so
it.
she was like a mixture of both of them. And yeah, it was very important for me to have a South Asian character because, like you said, representation does matter. I feel like as much as South Asians are capable of and can do, and have so many talents, I still feel like we're very underrepresented in mainstream society, whether that be on TV shows or movies or books or any of that. And I can't figure out still why. Maybe it's because like we may be domineering in the engineering coding and doctor. I'm not
We're all
sure.
in that
Right.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe with your poetry and my book, maybe we can break through little by little. But either way, it was very important for me to go into their school library, wherever, or find a book with a character that looked like them. I think it's important. I think, and I don't want to stop at, this one book. I want Saya to go on many different adventures and I want her to go through different things that, children will experience. And again, like you said, talk about that, right? And whatever that may look like, whatever makes sense for the next topic. And she's our little South Asian warrior going out there, discussing these things and talking. And that's kind of the concept here. And hopefully Saya can grow with us and, keep getting very popular.
Yeah, I love it. And I hope and we're gonna drop the links so everyone can find both of your books into the show notes as
Yeah.
well. So be sure to look there. Well, let's pivot a little bit because you're entrepreneurial in more than one way. So you also have kind of like a fashion, well, you have an affinity to fashion and you
Yes.
are good at fashion. So you tell us about the journey of, you started kind of a brick and mortar business and what is it today? What does it look like today in the work that you do?
Yeah. So I'm glad you bring that up. It actually is one of my first passions. Like I've always been into fashion. I don't know, what that kind of looks like, but even as a little girl, like I always like to dress up. I'd go into my closet and get the frilliest clothes. Like it's just been
Yeah.
me, like always. My poor mother is probably like dressing me for school, like, really, no, you can't wear that, and it was always so important for me to like, and like it'd be like the velvet and the lace and everything that looked, like it, and I still like feel like I have an eye for that thing that looks a little different that might catch someone's eye. I always am looking for that eccentric kind of, I don't know, article of clothing. But yeah, it's always been a passion. Like I wanted to be an editor for Vogue, in my
I
finance
love
world.
it.
I know first
Yeah.
when I
JP
graduated college.
Morgan. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I remember I would be sitting at my desk. I'd finish my work for the day and I wasn't married then. I didn't have children. I was like, the days were endless and I'd be like doodling about, Vogue articles and writing what I write about. I mean, and again, that was like, I was like over 20 years ago, we're talking, and young and a different time. And I didn't have the tenacity, or maybe I didn't even think I could at that point, the way I know I can now, that I can go out and be a Vogue writer. I easily probably could have, because I love to write and I love fashion. And why can't I? Of course I can. But
Yes.
at that point, I thought I had to be behind my desk in the finance world, bringing in the checks, the timely checks, building my life, going to get married, going to have children. That's how it was laid out for me. That's what I followed. Right. So, I wanted to do that. Anyway, long story short. So after Sienna was born, we had made this move to the suburbs. I had quit my corporate job. I had a lot of time on my hands, too much time. And it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was, 3 months in, she was born in October, February. I clearly remember my husband was at work. He was working a lot. I was alone. I was alone with this baby. First time mother in a new neighborhood, didn't know really anyone, even though our parents are right down the street, but it's a different time. Like nobody wants to hang out with their parents all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I left the city, which was home to me. I had gone there and I felt like a fish out of water and I was lonely and I didn't have my job, something I'd done forever. And I was probably suffered from postpartum, which again was never discussed. Definitely not
Mhm.
with me. I didn't even know what that was. Can you imagine? I just gave birth and no one had talked to me about this kinds of things could happen. It's now insane to even think about, but I was struggling. And my husband, I clearly remember he was at work and I was like, I don't know. I can't do this. This is 24/7. I mean, she is my heart and soul. Like, we're so blessed. So I was like, there has to be what else is there? I can't do, I mean, nobody can. It's a burnout, right? You're just asking to get burned out at that point. So he said, this is a time, Jay. Remember that boutique you always wanted to open? This is a time. I'm like, hey, yes, it is. Right. So there I went, full throttle. I had an online boutique, called it Shamira. I put in Samir's name and my mom's name stuck to, made a name called Shamira, and my logo, the lotus leaf, coming out of the murky waters, the flower that always thrives, which I still love, by the way.
Mm.
Since Shamira was born, it was awesome. Like it was awesome. I was at the merchandise mart, going to the trade shows, buying fashion from LA and anywhere else. It was just so much fun. We'd have trunk shows. Yes, like I had this
Amazing.
daughter, we had this area of the house dedicated to the boutique. So we had like a boutique area, without having the overhead. It was perfect. Like I'd have the neighborhood girls come shop. Like I had grew up in Schaumburg, but we didn't move far from there. So I did know a lot of people in the area. Everyone had kind of, gone their own ways with their own families. But we had to have the neighborhood girls come shop. It was fun, it was great. And Sienna was all in it. Like it was cute. It was really great. And then COVID hit. And we're like, great, right?
Yeah.
Things slow down really quickly. I mean, we're in the process of like getting a headspace, like in the Arboretum in Barrington. We had dreams, right? We're like, okay, here we are. As we know, the world shut down and that also took a back seat. I always wanted to design. So that was always part of the goal with Shamira as well. I wanted to make my own line of clothing. I haven't lost sight of that. I definitely have that creative energy to me, which I love to unleash. So I am working on that. I hope for a fusion line to honor my culture. It's really important to me. And it's kind of like what you said, like we're breaking generational trauma, but I also want to honor where we come from, right? Like
Yeah.
my grandma and my aunts and women I know who have paved the way, my mother, like for all of us. And I don't want to lose sight of that as well. So I'm working on that too. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
can't
I'm
wait.
in it. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it'll happen.
Yeah.
It's always a dream and yeah. So here I am. So that's
Well, we have a podcast episode from a fashion designer, so check it out and maybe you can get a little information for your
yes,
design
yes.
journey.
I absolutely will. I'll reach out to anyone who will talk to me. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the
Yeah.
beauty of this world we live in too. We're so everybody's willing to share and help each other and connect and
Absolutely.
like grow. And her and I, it's so funny. She's a fashion designer. I'm an author. We collaborate. We're already collaborating on an event. So
I
it's
love it.
like, and people, I love our South Asian community because people, although even if they compete, they'll be willing to share, they'd be willing to talk, they'd be willing
Absolutely.
to help another person out. I mean, that's kind of been the South Asian immigrant experience in the US, right? So our
Yes,
parents and I,
yes.
we're kind of reinventing.
Yeah,
So let's talk about the last kind of bit that I want to talk about with you is like, what's kind of your goal or your message to the world right now, right? Like I know you're active on social media, you have fashion. Like what's kind of the goal for all the things that you're doing and tying them together? What would you like to
yeah.
put out in the world?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think right now my goal is just raising the best girls I can. And I mean that very broadly. By best, I mean kind, brave, strong people, girls who are South Asian know they can do whatever they want, should have the place and the forum to be able to discuss anything that's going on in their lives, right? Like, I think I'm just really tired. I mean, we lost my dad. It's been like 6 weeks now. So still pretty fresh. And he was a very much a man who played by his own rules, right? He was tough. He was strong. He built his life here. He built our lives here. Huge shoes to fill, but he's left us with so much courage and strength and that can do attitude. And he raised my sister and I as boys. Like for him, we were never his girls. He never wanted us to bow or think we could
Love
do
that.
less. Anything. Yeah. Like, he was a feminist in and out, like, and I just think maybe it's because of that, losing him. I'm so trying to keep him alive, like whatever that looks like, his legacy, whatever it is. And I also know that he wouldn't want us to quit. And he definitely would want our children to rise higher, right? Like you always want better for the next generation. So I think right now my message is I just want to make sure my girls know that they can do whatever they want. They have it in them. They have the ability, they have the support. I'm very active on social media. I always have been. Facebook, like, when it first came out, I uploaded all my pictures. I love capturing moments. I'm very in tune to think that, okay, we have this time and then it's gone. And I don't want to lose this moment. So for me, it's always been like a release, almost like a journal online, because I look back at it. Facebook is great with its memories. I think at night when I can't sleep because I'm like perimenopause and God knows what else on my mind, I'm
I just
scrolling
talked
through
to
the
my
old.
doctor about that. I just talked to my doctor about that, by the way.
Yes, scrolling through the old memories and I smile. And I'm like, you know what? If this is all it takes to bring light to my life, I'm going to go for it. And then, with Instagram, it's like I started with Shamira. I became my own marketing agent. And Instagram is really good at helping business owners promote their product. And you reach the world, right? And then you have these content creators who are super creative. I'm a LTK content creator and we have people who makes a living through their content, and to be able to learn and lean into that and, learn from some of the best is I think so important. So I just feel like my message right now is letting the girls know that, the future is heading this way with AI and the bot and everything being done online. We're moving that direction. Use it in a healthy way, use it for good, put purpose out there and learn, get purpose back. That's kind of just where I'm at, between the books and hopefully making that future. I want to make sure I make my dad proud and now my mom that we worry about and that my girls are okay. And that's just what I'm doing right now. For me, it's just one step at a time, getting through grief and being better than I was yesterday and making my sure girls are okay.
I love that answer. Thank you for sharing, by the way, your journey that your family is going through. I know it's really raw, and I think it's just, also a testament to you because you're showing up for your girls still, like, their book coming out, although it's not like a tribute, it sort of feels like you've birthed something new. I like in
Yeah,
some Indian culture, they'll say like when somebody passes on, something new is born, right? And like
for
this is
sure.
kind of like
Absolutely.
a interesting metaphor here, but
It
I think
is.
you've shown incredible strength through it, and I think you're absolutely right. Like raising the best future generation, the best girls that you can is your legacy, right? Is the
Yeah.
next thing that you leave. So this is
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for sharing, Julie.
Thanks for having me. Like, I swear, meeting on that Women's Day was everything. Look at this. Like you said, from the book, putting the book out there after a really dark time, and it still is. Like, but every time I look at the book, I'm like, it brings me joy because it's like you said, something that's new. It's an accomplishment. It's,
Yeah,
from my girls. And then meeting you on the Women's Day, bringing this all together, like it's huge. So thanks,
yeah,
Parul. I really appreciate it. Like everything that you're doing for our community, we're all like on the same mission, right? Just to be better, do better, like offer more to our
yeah.
kids, I feel like. And
I
all
love that.
everything you write about our culture and stuff. Oh my God. Like, so yeah. Thank
I
you.
mean,
It's
yeah,
important.
put more good out there. I think I love to follow that lead because honestly, it's the best mission. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I fully
Thank
agree.
you.
Well, we can't wait for people to get the book. Again,
Yeah.
show all the links for Julie's book, what will be, and then the combined co-authored book, Dear Friend,
Yes.
is going to be available in the show notes. So please check it out. And thanks
Wonderful.
again, Julie. And we're hopeful that we get to share this and amplify it out. And then if you have enjoyed these episodes of South Asian Success, be sure to share this with a friend as well.
Yes.
See you next time, everyone.
Hey, thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to South Asian Success. If this episode resonated with you, we hope that you'll share it with a friend or someone else who could resonate with it as well. And if you love what we're doing and building, please do rate us on whatever podcast method you stream on. Any reviews will help us grow and improve this platform. And if you are interested in joining us or talking more about your journey, please be sure to reach out. Take care. Thank you for listening to South Asian Success. If this episode resonated with you, we hope that you'll share it with a friend or someone else who could resonate with it as well. And if you love what we're doing and building, please do rate us on whatever podcast method you stream on. Any reviews will help us grow and improve this platform. And if you are interested in joining us or talking more about your journey, please be sure to reach out. Take care.